The entire restaurant fell silent when the most feared man in the city laughed at her. His voice was cold, his eyes full of pride, and every person in the room knew that crossing him could ruin a life. But what he did not know was that the woman standing in front of him had already survived storms far greater than his threats. She had been ignored, judged, and humiliated for years, but she had never allowed anyone to steal her dignity. That afternoon, a powerful mafia boss tried to break a waitress with a few cruel words in Arabic, but the answer he received shocked everyone watching. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of standing up for what is right, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel, Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories like this one. The afternoon sun poured through the tall glass windows of the old restaurant, covering the tables with golden light. It was one of those peaceful days when the city seemed to slow down for a moment. The restaurant was usually filled with businessmen, families, and travelers looking for a quiet meal away from the noise outside. Behind the counter and between the tables moved a woman named Marissa, a waitress who had spent the last 3 years working there. Marissa was not the type of person people noticed first for her beauty or confidence. She was plus size, and she knew the world often judged her before learning her name. Some customers smiled at her kindness, while others whispered cruel things when they thought she could not hear. They noticed her body before they noticed her heart. They saw her size before they saw the way she remembered every customer's favorite drink, the way she helped elderly guests carry their bags, or the way she stayed late cleaning tables after everyone else had gone home. But Marissa had a strength that came from a painful past. Years earlier, she had lost almost everything. After her father became seriously ill, she had left her dreams behind to support her family. She worked long hours, took care of her younger brother, and learned that life rarely rewarded people fairly. There were nights when she cried quietly because she felt invisible. Still, every morning she put on her uniform, looked into the mirror, and reminded herself that being kind was not weakness. That day, the restaurant manager told the staff that an important guest would be arriving. Nobody knew exactly who it was, but the nervous looks on everyone's faces said enough. When a black luxury car stopped outside the restaurant, conversations immediately became quieter. A tall man stepped out wearing a perfectly tailored suit. His name was Zayden Rafiq, a businessman known by some as a powerful figure and by others as a dangerous mafia boss. People feared Zayden because he carried influence everywhere he went. A single phone call from him could open doors or close them forever. He walked into the restaurant with confidence, surrounded by 2 silent guards. The atmosphere changed instantly. Even the manager became nervous. Marissa was assigned to serve his table. She noticed something strange about him. Behind his intimidating presence, there was a tiredness in his eyes. It was the kind of sadness that wealth could not hide. But before she could think more about it, Zayden's expression changed when she approached. She politely placed the menu on the table and offered assistance. Instead of responding with simple respect, he looked at her from head to toe. His eyes lingered on her appearance, and a small smile formed on his face. It was not a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile people make when they think they are better than someone else. He spoke in Arabic, assuming she would not understand. He made a cruel comment about her appearance, laughing as if she was nothing more than a joke. A few people nearby looked away because they felt uncomfortable, but nobody dared to say anything. They were afraid of him. For a moment, Marissa stood completely still. She had heard insults before. She had heard people criticize her body, her clothes, and her dreams. She had learned to ignore strangers who wanted to make her feel small. But something about that moment was different. This was not just an insult. It was someone using power to humiliate another human being. The restaurant waited for her reaction. Everyone expected her to lower her eyes, apologize, and walk away. But Marissa took a slow breath and looked directly at him. She answered him in Arabic. The room froze. Zayden's confident expression disappeared. He was not expecting her to understand him. The waitress he had underestimated had just responded with calm confidence. She told him that a person's worth was not measured by appearance, money, or fear. She told him that real strength was shown through respect, not through making others feel powerless. Then she said something that made everyone in the room gasp. She called him a coward. Not because he was powerful. Not because he was feared. But because he needed to hurt someone who could not fight back in order to feel important. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to Zayden Rafiq without fear. The guards immediately became alert. The manager looked terrified. Several customers thought Marissa had just destroyed her own future. They expected anger. They expected revenge. But Zayden did not shout. He simply stared at her. Because deep inside, he knew she was right. He had spent his entire life building a reputation based on fear. People obeyed him because they were afraid of what would happen if they did not. But nobody had ever looked past his power and challenged the emptiness underneath. Marissa turned around and walked back toward the kitchen, her hands shaking. The moment she disappeared from the dining area, the courage she had shown began to fade. She leaned against the wall and felt tears forming in her eyes. She wondered if she had gone too far. She wondered if standing up for herself would cost her everything. The manager rushed toward her, worried about what Zayden might do. He told her she should have stayed quiet because people like him did not forgive easily. Marissa looked down and admitted that she was scared. She was not fearless. She had simply reached a point where staying silent hurt more than speaking. Meanwhile, Zayden sat alone at his table. The food arrived, but he barely touched it. His mind kept returning to her words. For years, people had praised him, feared him, and lied to him. Everyone around him wanted something. Money. Protection. Influence. But Marissa wanted nothing from him. She had risked everything just to tell him the truth. That was something he could not understand. After finishing his meal, Zayden left without causing trouble. But before leaving, he placed an envelope on the table and asked the manager to give it to Marissa. When she opened it later, she expected a warning or some kind of threat. Instead, it contained a handwritten note. It simply said that nobody had spoken to him like that in a very long time. Marissa did not know what to think. The next morning, she arrived at work expecting consequences. She thought she might lose her job or face problems because of what happened. But instead, she noticed something unusual. A group of people were standing outside the restaurant. They were not there for Zayden. They were there for her. The previous day, someone had recorded the moment and shared it online. People had seen a woman who refused to be humiliated. They had seen someone choose dignity over fear. Messages started pouring in. Some people shared their own stories of being judged. Some thanked her for reminding them that kindness and courage still mattered. But Marissa knew the story was not about her becoming famous. It was about something much deeper. For years, she had believed that the world only saw her flaws. But now she realized that the qualities she thought made her different were the very things that made her strong. And somewhere across the city, Zayden Rafiq was also changing. He began questioning the life he had built. He remembered the people he had hurt, the moments when he had confused fear with respect. Marissa's words stayed in his mind because they came from someone who had every reason to hate him but still chose honesty. Days passed, and the restaurant slowly returned to normal. But Marissa was no longer the same woman who walked through those doors before. She carried herself differently. Not because the world had suddenly become kinder, but because she finally understood her own value. One afternoon, as the sun once again filled the restaurant with golden light, Zayden returned. This time, he came alone. No guards. No attitude. No sense of superiority. Everyone noticed. He walked toward Marissa's table section and placed a small box on the counter. Inside was something unexpected, a simple bracelet that belonged to his late mother, a woman who had once taught him that kindness mattered more than power. He gave it to Marissa as a sign of apology and respect. She accepted it, not because she forgot what happened, but because she believed people could change when they truly understood their mistakes. And that was the moment both of them learned the same lesson. A person's greatest victory is not defeating someone else. It is refusing to become cruel after being hurt. Before the story ends, please take a moment to comment, "Kindness is strength," if this story touched your heart and reminded you that every person deserves respect. Marissa never became powerful because she defeated a mafia boss. She became powerful because she discovered that her voice mattered. Her courage reminded everyone watching that even the smallest act of bravery can create a ripple that changes lives. Sometimes the person everyone underestimates is the person with the strongest heart. And sometimes, one honest moment of courage is enough to change even the coldest soul. If this story inspired you, please engage with this video by liking, sharing, and leaving your thoughts. Your support helps spread stories that remind the world there is still kindness, hope, and humanity everywhere.